Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Tyler and I just do consistent content on all things relating hockey and the NHL overall. And if you've seen my previous mock drafts lottery simulation videos, then you'll definitely like this one as I'm doing the post-draft lottery simulation video now. And I was going to post one a lot earlier, right after the draft lottery, but I was on vacation and this is my first day back from vacation, so that's why this is out for you lovely people now. But if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button for this great hockey content. I really hope you enjoy it. And hit that like button if you like all this kind of hockey content overall. But without further ado, let's get right into it. As you can see, I'm on Cap Friendly because I love their setup. If you just hit this interactive button right here, it will give you the option to make your own mock draft simulation, and that's what I'm doing. And I will even publish this after the fact. So as long as you type in Wordy NHL when you look up who published theirs through Cap Friendly, you'll see mine if you want to check it out. Just know it's legit. But let's get right into it. And as you know, I'll be simming, of course, the first overall lottery selection, seeing who gets that pick, because we all know it's going to be a qualifying team that loses in that qualifying round. And then overall picks 1 through 15, I'll be seeing what teams get pick where and what players are chosen and the reasoning for all that. So that's what I'll be breaking down with you today. Okay, so as you can see here, the setup is these are all the teams that don't currently have their first round pick for this year's draft, but can obtain it given conditions on the trades that happen. So as you see, Arizona Coyotes, Islanders, Maple Leafs, Penguins, Vancouver Canucks, all have a chance to get that first round pick back depending on the situation regarding their trades. And then as long as I hit this choose winner button, which is what I'll be doing now, we're going to find out who wins the first overall selection. New York Rangers. Wow, that is insane. That is absolutely insane. Okay, I am a Rangers fan. If you see my previous videos, you know this. And you know this isn't a joke, though. You're watching it live. That is crazy. Okay, so the Rangers get the first overall selection. That is nuts. I don't see it happening. I see the Rangers having a very strong chance of winning their qualifying round. But for whatever reason they don't, then hey, I will not complain one bit getting that first overall lottery selection. But I have to say, it is a guilty feeling with this happiness because I wanted the Detroit Red Wings or the Ottawa Senators to desperately get that first overall selection because they need a guy like Alexi Lafreniere and they aren't going to get it. So I do feel bad for them. I truly do. But at the same time, if this were to become a reality come the actual phase 2 of the draft lottery, then I will be ecstatic, of course. But let's get right into it now. Save lottery, and now here we go. Here's what it looks like. You have the Rangers at first from the pick that they originally acquired from Carolina in the Brady Shea trade. Wow, that's ironic. And now you have the LA Kings at second. Of course, the Senators at third from the San Jose Sharks and the Erik Karlsson trade, as we all know. Detroit Red Wings at 4, which I feel terrible about, truly. And then the Ottawa Senators at 5 with their original pick. 6, Anaheim Ducks. 7th, the New Jersey Devils. 8th, Buffalo Sabres. 9th, Montreal Canadiens. 10th, Chicago Blackhawks. 11th, the New Jersey Devils in the trade for Taylor Hall with the Arizona Coyotes, 12th Minnesota Wild, 13th Vancouver Canucks, 14th Nashville Predators, and 15th the Florida Panthers. And that's where I'll be cutting off at 15 because those are all the ones that are available for their lottery. So let's get right into it. The Rangers are, of course, going to get the best player, undoubtedly, in this 2020 NHL draft class, and that is Alexi Lafreniere. Alexi, such a fantastic talent, a crucial part as to why this draft class is so coveted, and for good reason. Alexi displays an unbelievably amazing set of skills, not just on the offensive front, but he's great in his own zone, too. His playmaking ability is simply superb, far better than any other player in this draft class. Truly, his shooting is great, and you just can't take him off the puck. His hockey awareness and IQ overall is just amazing. He had 112 points in only 52 games in the QMJHL, and undoubtedly looks like he can be, if not a generational talent, then definitely a franchise talent for whichever team drafts him first overall, and in this case, it would be the New York Rangers. But second, the Los Angeles Kings are going to get the big boy himself, Quinton Byfield. Quinton Byfield is one who some people may debate it should be Tim Stützle, but I think it's going to be Byfield, and here's why. When I think about the LA Kings in particular, when it comes to their previous runs in 2012 and, of course, in 2014, the kind of teams that they had at the time, they love their big-bodied forwards and especially centermen. Look at Anze Kopitar, for example. But bringing in a guy like Quinton Byfield just makes perfect sense. He's 6'4", over 200 pounds, I believe 220 or so. But he has lightning speed. He has an electric shot, a quick wrister, might I add, and he's just so hard to get off the puck. He really looks like some of the bigger body centermen out there, and I've seen comparisons to many players, including Evgeny Malkin, and I know Malkin gets thrown around every draft draft with certain players. I've even seen the same with Andrei Svechnikov, but especially with Byfield, it makes perfect sense if you watch his game and his highlights overall. He's just an electric overall player, such a balanced player. And if it wasn't for Alexis Lafreniere, he would easily go first overall, in my opinion. But then third, the Ottawa Senators, I think, honestly, they could very well go with a guy like Jamie Drysdale. Yes, this may be a surprise to you, but I think they would go for a guy like Drysdale, and here's why. Yes, they have Thomas Chabot, but they are definitely not looking great on that defense as they are in a complete rebuild, as we all know. And Drysdale, undoubtedly the best defenseman in this 2020 NHL draft class, truly looking like another forward out there when he's on the ice. He is superb bringing the zone, going into the offensive zone with the puck, contributing on special teams, power play, or penalty kill, and is very strong in his own zone as well. He had 47 points in 49 games in the OHL, and really looks like he could help this team drastically on the blue line. It really takes some weight off the shoulders of the likes of Thomas Chabot, who eats up some of the most ice time among all defensemen in the NHL since he first arrived in the league playing for the Ottawa Senators. But Drysdale could be an Erik Karlsson 2.0 for the Ottawa Senators. That's just how good he is, and I really won't be that surprised at all if he comes to fruition, really be that next big guy, that next great right-hand defenseman for the Ottawa Senators going forward. But next, the Detroit Red Wings are going to get, yes, Tim Stützle. Yes, do I want the Red Wings to really get him? Of course I want them to get him. But you have to understand why. Not just Moritz Seider, who we all know has played, of course, with Tim Stützle before, playing in Germany, and Stützle playing in Dell, but he has done fantastic, and him and Moritz Seider coming into the NHL together just looks like a picture-perfect scenario for the Red Wings, in my opinion. And Steve Yzerman, you have to think he's eyeing him up at that fourth pick, hoping he will drop all the way to fourth. But Stützle really going through the draft rankings within the past year, looking like he would possibly be a late first-round pick, if not a early second-round pick, jumping all the way up to possibly a top 2 or top 3 talent, as he dominated in the Dell, the German league, having, of course, over 30 points in 34 points in 41 games, and has the record of the first 18-year-old to average 0.82 points per game in a men's league in Germany. That is absolutely insane. Stützle, though, is just a fantastic overall player, has silky mitts. He is just such an elusive player and electric when you watch him. He is so hard to get off the puck as well. He reminds me a little bit of Kaapo Kakko from the highlights that I've seen of Kaapo leading up to the draft last year, and of course being a Rangers fan, watching plenty, especially when they're in the offensive zone, around the net, behind the net, in those circles. They just love to do all these little drags and make things happen, keeping themselves on the puck, hounding it. And while Stützle isn't a big-bodied forward by any means, centerman, he still can show just how good he is on the puck. He has very strong speed as well, is not a liability in his own zone by any means, and can contribute offensively in great ways, and just has superb playmaking ability. So Stützle would be a perfect fit for the Detroit Red Wings at number 4. Which leads me to number 5, and I think Marco Rossi will be that guy. Yes, he did play for the Ottawa 67s, of course, but regardless of that, he just looks like a perfect fit for Ottawa. Yes, they do have depth at center, but bringing in a guy like Rossi, who in my opinion is easily a top 5 talent in this year's draft, but could very well get slept on because of his size. He is only 5'9", and I think that could possibly have the likes of a guy like Cole Perfetti going above him, when in reality, I personally think Marco Rossi has more pure skill than Perfetti, but that's just my opinion. But Rossi overall in the OHL had 120 points in only 56 games, including 81 assists. Talk about a playmaker. But he has an electric shot as well, such a speedy player as well, and when he gets in the offensive zone, he just slows down the game so much. His eyes are always up looking at the players around him. I know that's typical with hockey players, but overall, he just has great hockey IQ and awareness overall. He has silky hands, wicked shot, and his playmaking ability is simply superb, truly. His vision is like no other, and he can make so many great things happen. Smooth hands, and just from the highlights and some of the games I've watched of his, I'm really in love with this kind of player, the type of talent that he is. And for the Ottawa Senators case, I really hope they get him at number 5. Which leads me to 6, where the Anaheim Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks, I honestly think are going to go. This is tough. Are they going to go with Lucas Raymond? Are they going to want more help on that wing? Or are they going to go with a guy like Cole Perfetti, which they could throw in that center position, maybe have the heir apparent to the likes of Ryan Getzlaf, whatever it may be? This one's kind of tough, honestly. I think I'm going to go with Lucas Raymond, though. Raymond is just a fantastic overall talent. And yes, he may seem like a more boomer bust type pick, as some scouts are worried about his transition in the NHL and his overall defensive game. But from everything I've seen, his defensive game has looked very strong playing in the SHL. And this year in the SHL, he had only 10 points in 33 games, but he was playing bottom feeder minutes. We're talking at most 10 minutes a game, playing in that bottom six on that fourth line in the SHL. I believe he's playing for Frölunda, but playing fantastic regardless. And Raymond just displays unbelievable set of skills, especially when it comes to his playmaking ability. Arguably the best playmaker besides Alexis Lafreniere in all of this draft class, and he has a very strong shot as well, but his playmaking ability is definitely higher up versus his shot. But he's just such a flashy and creative player. He makes things happen left and right in that offensive zone. His hands are just ridiculous, and he looks like he has some of the most potential out of all the players in this draft class. And overall on the wing, he would just look perfect for the Anaheim Ducks, as they definitely need depth on the wing as they kind of continue this rebuild, retool, whatever you may call it. But next now at the seventh, we are at the seventh spot with the New Jersey Devils. The Devils are going to get a goal scorer in Alexander Holtz. Alexander Holtz is deemed by many, including myself, as if not the best, then one of the best pure goal scorers in this draft. Similar to Raymond playing in the SHL, hasn't had the craziest numbers, but for good reason. He has 16 points in 35 games, including 9 goals and 7 assists, but just such a pure goal scorer. He knows how to pick those corners probably better than any other guy in this draft class besides the likes of Jack Quinn, because I'm a big fan of Jack Quinn as well. But Holtz just looks like he has such a great future in the AHL, and putting him along the likes of whether it be, of course, Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier will do wonders for the New Jersey Devils as they pretty much continue this retool/rebuild as well. And bringing a guy like him in will just benefit them so much. He's so flashy too, and really, I think, can very well have a better career possibly than Raymond, as I think Raymond, even though is better defensively, if Holtz can continue the goal scoring as we have all seen he has in his young career, then Holtz could very well go down as a better goal scorer than Raymond. But time will tell. I think they're both going to be fantastic talents in the AHL, but Holtz undoubtedly has an amazing shot. And next now with the Buffalo Sabres, I think the Sabres, I originally was thinking they would go with a guy like Antoine Lundell because of his defensive game, but now I'm leaning more along the likes of a guy like Cole Perfetti. I think they would go with a guy like Cole Perfetti as just his talent overall. Offensively, it could be superior to the likes of Antoine Lundell, even though I'm a huge fan of him. Cole Perfetti, though, viewed by many as a top 5, if not top 3 talent in this draft, did absolutely amazing, and I can't stress this enough. Simply phenomenal in the OHL with 111 points and only 64 OHL games, including 74 assists. Perfetti is deemed by many as another one of the best playmakers in all of this draft class, but he also can shoot the puck as well, has superb shooting ability to get in the nitty-gritty, and just very strong in the puck as well. He's not overly sizable. I believe he's only around 6'1", but he really uses his simple size to his advantage. He's unbelievably hard to get the puck off his stick, and while his defensive game isn't nearly as good as some other centermen on this list, it isn't too much of a liability either, and he will continue to grow into a better player. But Perfetti, the potential, if not being a top 6 and even a top-line centerman in the AHL one day, looking like he would be a perfect fit for the Buffalo Sabres behind the likes of Jack Eichel, so they could have some more center depth. But next now at number 9, the Montreal Canadiens. Ooh, this one's kind of tough too. I think the Canadiens, honestly though, got to go with a guy like Antoine Lundell. They need that depth. And yes, that may be a surprise pick. People might be like, why are you picking Antoine Lundell to go there? I think Lundell would just be a good pick for Montreal, especially because of how fantastic his two-way game is, but he has superb offensive skills as well, but it just gets slept on a little bit more because of how good he also is in the neutral zone and the defensive zone. Lundell in the Liga, the Finnish Elite League, looking fantastic as an 18-year-old, dominating with 28 points in only 44 games, might add, including 10 goals and 18 assists. Lundell, even though he isn't necessarily viewed as a top centerman by others, I think he would be a good fit for Montreal and could very well slot into that top 6 for sure as a centerman or on that left wing and do wonders for them, just helping out their overall defensive game, and they could definitely use it. And I just think overall he's undoubtedly the best defensive centerman overall forward in this draft class, and I love everything about his game, truly. But next now at number 10, the Chicago Blackhawks, which everyone assumes to happen, and I honestly agree, are going to draft Yaroslav Askarov. Yaroslav Askarov, a fantastic goaltender, viewed as the best goalie in the draft in over a decade by many, and for good reason. Askarov, a bigger-bodied goaltender, I believe he's 6'3" or 6'4", and really, even though he doesn't have much KHL experience, has done very well in the VHL, which is, of course, the KHL's minor league, like the AHL for the NHL, if you will. But in just 18 games in the KHL, Askarov did a fantastic job, had a save percentage of .920, and, of course, a goals allowed average of 2.45, just looking great. And he did have a cup of coffee in the KHL this year with, of course, St. Petersburg, the team he plays for, but hasn't had much experience in the actual KHL yet. So it's going to be interesting to see when he would come to the NHL, but Chicago Blackhawks undoubtedly need a new goaltender with Corey Crawford. I'm assuming hanging up the skates and the pads sooner rather than later, and bringing in a guy like Askarov could do a fantastic job for them going forward as they continue their kind of retool as well. Next now, at the 11th pick, you have the New Jersey Devils having, of course, the pick from Taylor Hall in that trade. And the Devils are going to go with Jake Sanderson. They need help on defense, and Sanderson is deemed by a lot of scouts that I've read as a possible top 5 pick. Some scouts even view him better than Jamie Drysdale, which is kind of absurd, but I understand why. Sanderson, without question, the best player coming out of the USHL this year, as the USHL depth isn't nearly as good as what it was last year. As we all know, there's plenty of USHL players drafted in the 2019 draft in the first round especially. But Sanderson, just a fantastic overall two-way defender. You shouldn't expect too much offense from him, but he's such a safe pick and a guy who can really transition into the NHL right away, a guy who can eat those minutes. I've seen him compared to Ryan Suter and just taking the blunt of the workload overall and doing a fantastic job doing it. And Sanderson in 19 games had 14 points, including 2 goals and 12 assists. And overall, I just really like a lot about his game, truly. I think Sanderson is just not a flashy defenseman by any means, but can contribute offensively when needed to pinch up in the play. But he's a lock in his own zone, a taller, bigger body defenseman, and it was only going to get bigger and stronger with age, and really can be a great two-way, if not shutdown defenseman for the New Jersey Devils, and they desperately need it. Next, with the 12th pick, the Minnesota Wild, in my opinion, are going to go with Dylan Holloway. This may be a surprise pick to me, but I even did this in my last mock draft simulation video. I think they would go with Holloway for a couple of reasons. Here's why. Holloway playing in the NCAA, of course, I believe he's playing for the University of Wisconsin. I could be wrong, but really was looking strong for them this year. And 35 games played, at 17 goals, including 8 goals and 9 assists, and really looks like another guy who can transition into the NHL right away, and I think that would benefit the Wild a ton, as I don't really know where they are. They aren't in a rebuild or retool, but they definitely are in a situation where they're really not playoff worthy yet, but they aren't that far off either. So bringing in a guy like Holloway, I think would be great for them. He can transition in the NHL a lot better than some of these other players. Playing in junior, of course, and I think his overall two-way game is fantastic. He can shoot the puck as well. Strong playmaking ability, but his two-way game is very, very strong. I think that's important for the mentality that the Minnesota Wild have as an overall team. But next now at the 13th pick, the Vancouver Canucks. In my last video, I thought the Canucks would go with a guy like Jack Quinn, helping that scoring. But I'm honestly uncertain now if they would go with a guy like Jack Quinn. I almost feel like they would jump and take a guy like Dawson Mercer. So that's what I'm going to do. I think that they would take a guy like Dawson Mercer, and here's why. Not the fact of the difference between him and Jack Quinn is, of course, not too different. Jack Quinn, in my opinion, is a better goal scorer, but Mercer is deemed by a lot of scouts as a huge deal. Like, he is a big pick without question. And this may be a surprise pick, him going all the way to 13, but you have to see why. He had 68 points in 42 games, including 24 goals and 36 assists. And I know a lot of people like Seth Jarvis more too. I think you could really throw those 3 up in the air and just pick one out of a hat, and then that'll end up being the Vancouver Canucks pick. Truly, I don't think there's much difference between those 3 as to what Vancouver is looking for. But Mercer, a very strong goal scorer. I like his overall ability a lot, and I think he would transition smoothly with the Vancouver Canucks, with them drafting him at 13. But next, with the 14th pick, the Nashville Predators, they need help with goal scoring too, but they also need help with that center depth. I don't like their center depth at all, because you, of course, have the likes of Matt Duchene, but Kyle Turris has never been the guy that was expected of him playing with the Ottawa Senators, of course, since he was traded. He was never the same. Nick Bonino had a hot start to the season, but then fell off pretty quickly. So because of those reasons, I originally picked Connor Zary, but I'm going to go back on that. I think they would get a guy like Hendrix Lafreniere. He may be more of a boomer bust type pick, but Hendrix Lafreniere was deemed by many up until he, of course, dealt with a concussion this past year, looking like a fantastic overall playmaker. Another one of those guys that is deemed by a lot of scouts as one of the purest playmakers in all his draft class. And even though he has dealt with injury and that may push him away from possibly even falling out of that first round, I think there's a lot of potential with Lafreniere and good reason. It may take him a little bit longer to develop, but I think that's okay when it comes to the Predators, as they are in a win-now stage. They don't really need to rely on him right away. But Lafreniere, playing in the QMJHL, had 17 points in 19 games, only 2 goals but 15 assists, and I expect a lot from him going forward. And could really be a guy going back years later, looking back on this draft, that could really turn into a very strong top 6, if not top 9, centerman in the NHL. But next, with the last pick, the Florida Panthers, are they going to pick a centerman or a winger? This one's tough as well, but you think they have to go with a guy like Jack Quinn, right? Because how do you pass up on a guy like Jack Quinn at this point? I think they're going to go with Quinn. Do I think they need help at the center position? I do, but I think Quinn has more upside without question than a guy like Connor Zary, the centerman. And yes, Seth Jarvis would be a strong pick too, but Jack Quinn, really the best pure goal scorer in this draft, at least in my opinion, if not one of the best, for sure. But overall, when you look at Jack Quinn's numbers, he has done fantastic in the OHL, playing along the likes of Marco Rossi with the Ottawa 67s. But I don't think that should change just how good he is as an overall player, and especially goal scorer, because a lot of his goals have happened without contribution from Marco Rossi this past season. But when you look at his numbers, Quinn had 89 points in 62 games, including, get ready for this, 52 goals. Electric shot this guy has, and yes, he may look a little bit more raw in his overall offensive ability, not as flashy as some others, but can definitely shoot the puck, pick those corners fantastically, and bringing him a guy like the Panthers will just add to that talent. And yes, I know they need defensive help, but Quinn just throwing him into that already deep prospect pool when it comes to some very solid winners, whether it be the likes of Grigor Denisenko and Owen Tippett, who I fully expect to be in the lineup next season, with the likes of, if not one, then definitely both of Evgeny Dadonov and Mike Hoffman possibly being gone due to free agency. I think Quinn could very well be in the lineup within the next couple of years for sure. But with that being said, that is going to conclude this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think of this lottery? Let me know who you think is going to get that first overall pick, and why. Do you agree with all my picks or not? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear all your thoughts. And like I said, let me know who you think is going to get that first overall pick. I would love to hear it. And if you haven't checked out my previous videos, I have them right down here below for you. And with all those things being said, thank you all so much again. Please hit like, subscribe, comment if you like this kind of hockey content, and I'll be back in a day or two.